Okay, let's get started with the session. Before we start with today's session, I just quickly want to explain again what the pre-departure weeks are. So pre-departure weeks are a series of online events and sessions where we help you, students that have been admitted to Utrecht University, feel more prepared before your arrival here in Utrecht in a couple months. We will have sessions and have had sessions on different topics such as student life, study culture, housing, etc. You can find the recordings of previous events that we've done in your inbox. And you can also find an event to join future sessions that we will do. Keep in mind that not all the sessions we do are relevant for exchange students. Some of the sessions on student life and housing are relevant, but the session for today is not relevant if you are an exchange student. If you are an incoming bachelor or master student, then this session will definitely be relevant. So let's get started. To quickly go over the structure of today's event, we will start with a short presentation. During this presentation, you can ask us any questions that you have using the Q&A function that you can see on your screen. Our chat moderators will help in answering as many of your questions as possible. Keep in mind, if you have extremely specific questions to your situation, we might not be able to cover that in this session. So you can contact us via email instead. And if you have questions about other topics such as housing or student life, you can watch the recordings or join our upcoming sessions, as I mentioned earlier. At the end of the presentation, we will also have a live Q&A where we pick out some of the questions that you have asked us in the chat and answer them live. So let's get started. Today's session will be, of course, about travel document essentials, specifically about getting your residence permit. Before we start with the content of today's session, I have a question that I want you to ask yourself. Do you hold a nationality of one of these countries? Australia, Canada, Japan, Monaco, New Zealand, South Korea, the UK, or the USA? If the answer to that question is no, then this is not the correct session for you. We held a session relevant for you yesterday. The recording of this will be sent out in a couple of days, so keep an eye out for that. If the answer to this question is yes, then this is the correct session for you, and you will hopefully find it useful. I will leave this on the screen for 1 second so you can make sure that you are joining the correct session. Okay. Before we start with the process of your residence permit application, let's go through some useful terms. Firstly, the IND. So the IND is the Immigration and Naturalization Service of the Netherlands of the Dutch government. So this is a term that you will frequently hear throughout your visa application process. Then we have recognized IND sponsor. So what does this mean? Everyone immigrating from outside the European Union needs a sponsor for their visa for the IND. In your case, Utrecht University will be your sponsor. Then we have something known as a visa / MVV. This is a provisional residence permit in order to enter the Netherlands. In your case, you do not need this provisional residence permit. What you do need is just a residence permit, which is a document or card required in some regions, allowing a foreign national to reside in a country for a fixed or indefinite time. So we will take you through the process of you being able to get your residence permit because you do not need an MVV visa in order to enter the Netherlands. Let's go over the process of the application. There are 2 colors that you see on the screen, blue and green. The steps in blue are done by you, while the steps in yellow are done either by us or by the IND. So starting first with the documents and fees. Firstly, you need to fulfill the requirements of your conditional offer. Then you need to check your email, pay the application fee invoice and the tuition fee invoice. Keep in mind that in some cases, the application fee might already be included in the Osiris process. So in that case, you do not need to pay it separately. Then you need to gather all your documents and upload them in Osiris. The deadline for this is the 15th of June. Then we move to the processing of the application. The visa team checks your documents and requests missing items. The visa team then emails you in case hard copies are required of any of these documents. If this is the case, make sure to send them as soon as possible. You will receive instructions, of course, on how to do this. After this, if everything is in order, according to the visa team, they will then send your documents to the IND. The IND informs the visa team of the decision, at which point they will reach out to you and inform you of the decision. Then you can travel to the Netherlands, and once you have arrived, you can schedule a biometric data appointment and register at the municipality. After you've done this, you can finally collect your residence permit from the IND. There are a few different steps involved here, but we're going to go through the details of all of these steps in the coming slides. Starting off first, fulfilling the conditions of your offer. So make sure that you check your conditional offer for details of what conditions you need to fulfill and by when you need to fulfill this. You can also watch the recording of the session that we held last month, which you would have received by email about this topic of fulfilling the conditions of your offer, or you can also find more information on the Welcome to Utrecht website. Then moving to the second step, which is paying the tuition and visa application fees. Keep in mind the deadline for this is before the 15th of June. So you likely have received an email containing an invoice from International Student Admissions. You can either pay it yourself or you can forward it to your source of funding, who then pays it before the deadline. The payment of the visa application fee can be completed in the Osiris online application itself. Moving on, you then of course have to gather all of your documents and upload them into Osiris. So let's go through the details of the documents which are required. So on the screen you can see an overview of the required documents. Firstly, a copy of your passport. This needs to be valid until the 1st of March 2023, so keep that in mind. A filled-in antecedent certificate, a proof of insurance, proof of financial means, which must equal at least 11,220 euros, fulfilling any remaining conditions of your conditional offer, such as your English language test result or certified hard copies, etc. We're going to go through the details of some of these documents in the coming slides. So starting off first with the antecedent certificate. You can download it off our website or from within the Osiris online application. You then need to fill in and sign the document, after which you upload it back into Osiris. Something to keep in mind is that digital signatures are not accepted by the IND, so you do need to print the form, fill it out, sign it with an ink pen, and then scan it and upload it into Osiris. Then we move on to health insurance for non-EU students. If you do prefer to keep your current private health insurance, make sure that it covers your entire stay in the Netherlands, and if so, that it covers the Dutch tariffs. You can otherwise opt for the Aon Complete Plus insurance. This costs approximately 55 euros per month. You can find more information about this again online on our website. If you do not use the Aon Complete Plus insurance, we will only accept your insurance if it also provides coverage for all of the following conditions. So any pre-existing medical conditions, pre-existing psychological conditions, HIV and AIDS, medical costs for a minimum of 500,000 euros. If you do take up a job part-time while you are studying, you will need to get Dutch basic health insurance. This costs between 109 to 127 euros per month, but you might also be eligible for compensation from the Dutch government. Keep in mind, this is only needed if you have a job while you are studying. In the case that you do not have a job, you can get student insurance. Again, more details of this are available on our website. Make sure that you always carry a proof of health insurance with you in the Netherlands. And in Osiris, you need to upload a copy of your health insurance card and insurance policy in one of the languages that we accept, so Dutch, English, French, or German. If you take the Aon ICS Complete Plus insurance, a copy of your Aon certificate suffices as proof of insurance. I know there was a lot of information in this one slide, but again, you can find all the details about insurance on our Welcome to Utrecht website, which can help you, of course, in making sure that the insurance that you choose meets all the requirements set out. Then moving on to the proof of financial means. So you might be wondering, yeah, what is proof of financial means? This depends a bit on where exactly your funding is coming from. So this could be a scholarship, a grant, a loan, some kind of personal finance that you have, a sponsor, etc. So what do you actually have to prove as this proof of financial means? You need to prove that you have the funds necessary to cover at least the first 12 months of your study. The IND calculates average living expenses as 935 euros a month. So the amount that you need to show is 12 into 935, which is 11,220 euros. Again, for more detailed information about the proof of financial means, you can visit our Welcome to Utrecht website. Moving on then, and coming back to the overview of the process, we have gone through steps 1, 2, and 3. You have now gathered all your documents, filled them in, and uploaded it to Osiris, after which we move to the processing of the application. So as I mentioned, the visa team now checks your documents that you have uploaded in Osiris and requests any missing items. In the case that they do need hard copies of anything, they will request them for you and make sure that you send this as soon as possible. If everything is complete in your application, the visa team then sends your documents to the IND. The IND will then process it and inform the visa team about their decision, at which point the team will forward the decision of the IND to you. Then we move to the final part of the process, which are the steps that you take after arrival. So starting off first, schedule biometric data appointment and register at the municipality. So you need to submit your biometric data to the IND. The IND needs to register your fingerprints, your photo and signature for the residence permit card. You will receive more information by email around the 1st of September on how you can make this appointment and when you need to do it. And then you also need to register with the municipality. So this is a requirement for your residence permit. Again, you will receive more information about making your appointment with the municipality around the 1st of September. After you've given your biometric data and you've registered with the municipality, the final step is for you to actually collect your residence permit from the IND. You will, of course, have to collect this once it is ready. And again, you will receive more information about this by email around the 1st of September. That brings us to the end of the presentation. If you do want to have more detailed information about any of the topics we mentioned and guidance for while you are completing your application, you can take a look, as I mentioned, at the Welcome to Utrecht website. Here you can see we have a page on entry visa and residence permit. You can find a lot of information on what you can expect, how the application process goes, the payment, and details of all the different documents that you need to upload as well. All right, let's then move to the Q&A and answer any questions that you still had for us. Okay. Okay. I see a question that came in, which says, if we were to apply for the spring semester and extend our time in the Netherlands, will we also have to renew the visa or permit, or will it not expire by that time? Edith, would you like to join us to answer the question?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming. In general, your visa is valid up until 3 months after the end date of your exchange or after the end date of your studies. So that means you can that means that you can remain in the Netherlands for 3 months after you've graduated or after you've been finished with your exchange. You can use that time to travel around the Schengen area, for example. However, if you're staying 1 semester for exchange and you want to stay for another semester, we need to formally extend your visa. If that is the case, please inform your international office as an exchange student, and they will start up a new process for you for the coming semester, the semester that you want to stay extra.
Great. Let's see. Would a student loan letter be accepted as proof of financial means?
This is a tricky question because the IND is a bit hesitant to accept loans as proof of financial means. The reason they are hesitant is because if you're staying here with a study visa, you are only allowed to work for 16 hours per week. 16. So that's not a lot. That's the 2 days of the weekend, so to speak. And if your loan requires you to pay it back during your studies, that means you might have to work more than you are legally allowed to. So the IND is very hesitant, and we can only accept student loans that are very explicit in when you have to pay back those loans. And we can only accept them if you can pay it back after your studies have been finished.
Great. I think, I think that really answered the question. I see another question about the proof of financial means. So for how long does a student need to show the proof of financial means? And does the proof of financial means need to be in the name of the student, or could it also be, for example, in the name of a student's parents?
Yeah. So let me first answer the first question, I believe. The first question is, for how many months do I need to prove by financial means? That the answer to that question differs if you're an exchange student or if you're a degree student. For degree students, we need you to prove the first 12 months of your stay that you have sufficient financial means. So 12 times 935 euros per month. That is 11,220 euros. If you're an exchange student, we just need you to show that you have sufficient funds to cover the living expenses of the duration of your exchange. So, for example, if you're staying 5 months, you need to have 5 times 935 is 4,675 euros, I believe. Quick maths there. So yeah, it differs if you're an exchange student or a degree student. Degree student, only the first 12 months of your stay. Exchange student, your entire exchange. I believe the second question was, do you need to have it on your own? Do you need to have the funds yourself, or do you, or can you use someone else's bank account to show that you have sufficient funds? The answer is both, or you can make a combination of both. You are in fact allowed to show your parents' bank statement, for example, or another caretaker's bank statement, or someone else who's close to you. We call that person that covers for the expenses of your stay, we call that person a sponsor. And the sponsor should not be living in the Netherlands, but we do accept, of course, if you need a sponsor to live here in the Netherlands. So that's that. Hope it's clear.
Continuing with the questions about payment, why the students need to also pay the full tuition fees as part of this process.
Yeah, degree students need to pay the full tuition fees for the full first academic year of their stay here, because the IND wants you to show that you are able to follow your studies here and that you're able to stay here, and that you don't have to leave, for example, because you cannot pay for your studies anymore. So that's why you have to show that you have sufficient funds for both living expenses and covering the expenses of your studies, your tuition fees, in one go beforehand, so before starting your studies. This is why.
Perfect. Then I see another question about the timeline. Should students begin the visa application process even if they have not been received unconditional acceptance yet? What should they do in that case?
I see that my colleague already answered this very accurately. You can already start your application, and in fact, we recommend you to do so, because it takes quite a while to check the documents that you've sent in, and it also takes a while for the IND to process your application. So please, even if you haven't yet received unconditional admission to your program, please do submit your visa application. And know that you can get your tuition fees that you need to pay as part of the visa process. You can get those tuition fees back in case you do not get accepted into the program. Maybe that is a small consolation for the person asking.
Yeah, I think so. Continuing on that same topic, if someone doesn't have the documents necessary to fulfill the requirements of their offer until after the 15th of June, what should they do? What documents should they upload? Should they still upload anything?
This is more of an admissions question rather than a visa question, I'm afraid, so I don't have full expertise on this. What documents do we need and where do we need to send them? The documents you need are specified, I believe, in your letter of conditional admission. And where do you need to send them? To the admissions office.
Okay. Carrying on then, are there payment plans for the tuition fee?
No, there are not. This is very easy and quick answer. And the reason is that, like I said before, the IND needs to know that you have all the money beforehand, so that you don't get into money problems, run into money problems during your stay here.
And again, that is
payment plans.
That is for the first year, correct?
For the first year, yeah, definitely. If you are a degree student here, you only need to show that you have enough funds for the first year. Once you are here, they assume that you have found work and that you're able to also, then you can have a payment plan. But for your first year, they don't want you to do that. So IND rules and regulations.
Perfect. I see another question about where you can find the recordings of past pre-departure week events. You can find the recordings of this in an email that you receive around the 19th of last month. And you will again get an email around the 19th or 20th of this month with the recordings of the events from this month. Okay, I see another question about the proof of financial means. Can the proof of financial means be from the home country of a student?
Definitely, that's actually all we see. We only see bank statements from your home country and in your home currency, so to speak. So yeah, we don't expect you to have a Dutch bank account before you arrive here. Absolutely not.
Perfect. Then I see another question about do students need a different visa in order to work, and how would they get this?
1 second, apologies. Yeah. Yes, unfortunately, students that want to work here do need work permits to be able to work here. the work permit is issued by your employer. There's one exemption to this, and that's when you are self-employed. So you can work as a self-employed person without needing a permit.
Great. Let's see what other questions we have. Okay, carrying on with the proof of financial means. Because students will, of course, submit their proof of financial means with a bank statement in their home currency, would the funds need to change as per the changes in the exchange rate?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. What we look at the we look at the exchange rate of the day that we're processing your application. So that's really hard for you as a student to take into consideration. But yeah, so the exchange, how can I explain this correctly? So once we've received your application, we will check your files and we will use the exchange rate of that day to see whether the funds that you have in your bank statement correspond to at least 11,220 euros.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I see another question of a student from Australia. Would students with an Australian nationality need an entry visa as well?
No. Students from Australia don't need an entry visa. And if your Osiris online application seems to imply that you do need one, you might have a different nationality as well. You might have two nationalities, which is why maybe Osiris online application asks you to submit documents about that, or to enter an embassy where you want to pick up your entry visa. But please know, as an Australian national, you don't need an entry visa.
Perfect. I see another question then. Is there sort of a starting date from when students can enter the Netherlands, or can they enter at any point?
Yeah, we recommend you to book your flights and enter the Netherlands after you have received approval from the IND. This is the reason we recommend you to do this is mainly because you won't face any issues with border patrol then. Yeah.
Perfect. All right. I see another question about the general steps that we showed in the presentation and the process. So the June 15th deadline, could you clarify again what exactly needs to be done before that deadline?
Yeah, so before that deadline, we need you to have done 3 things. If you're a degree student, we need to have received your, or you need to have submitted, let me rephrase, you need to have submitted the tuition fee payment. You need to have paid for the visa fee, and you need to have submitted your documents in Osiris online application. Those 3 things, that's what we need. We don't need your application to be fully complete before June 15th. Let me just clarify that. And we also don't need unconditional admission from your degree for you. For the visa application deadline for June 15th. That can all happen afterwards.
Perfect. Okay, then I see another question again about the proof of financial means. What is the sort of time frame within which a bank statement needs to be submitted for it to be eligible?
Yeah, we don't accept bank statements that are older than 2 months. And if you have paid your tuition fees from the same account as the account that you show that you have sufficient financial funds for your living expenses, then the bank statement needs to be younger, so to speak, than the date of your tuition fee. So for example, the date of your tuition fee payment. So for example, you have paid your tuition fee today, May 18th, then your bank statement should be issued after May 18th, so on May 20th, for example, so that we know for sure that the funds that are shown on the bank statement of the May 20th are not used to pay your tuition fee.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. I see another question about vaccination and the situation with Corona. Is there something related to that that would affect the visa process or that students should be aware of?
No, there's not. No.
Great.
Just really quick answer, no, there's not.
Perfect.
You can always check, if you're wondering about COVID measures, you can always check the Dutch government website.
Perfect. Let's see what other questions are in the chat. We have a few more minutes in the session. Okay, if students do want to enter the Netherlands before they have received the decision of the IND, is there something in specific they need to do? Get a visitor visa or?
No, if you're from one of the countries for whom this session is meant to be, so if you're from Australia, Canada, Japan, South Korea, Monaco, US or UK, I think that's it, Vatican City, then you can travel into the Netherlands freely and stay here without a visa for 90, excuse me, so 90 days, 3 months. However, the reason we don't encourage students to do this is because if, for example, you travel into the Netherlands in June because you have time in June and you want to stay here for the summer, we will only be handing out the residence permit cards in October. So that means there is a gap between your the end of your 90-day stay here free period, and there's a gap between the end of that period and the moment where we will hand out your residence permit card. So that means that in that period you're staying here illegally, and obviously we don't want that. If you ride through a red light on your bike, then you're really, well, we both don't want that to happen. You don't want that to happen and I don't want that to happen. So this is why we recommend you to come here if you have received approval from the IND, so that you know for sure that you're staying here legally and that you will get your residence permit card in time before your residence here is expired, so to speak.
Perfect. Yeah, I think we've answered most of the questions. I see another one about proof of financial means again. Does this have to be the statement of just one bank account, or for example, could it also be 2 statements of 2 different bank accounts?
Yeah, you can combine funds, so to speak. So you can have 2 different sponsors with 2 different bank accounts. You can have your own funds in addition to that. You can have a scholarship in addition to that. So yeah, you can do that. However, please note, if you have 2 different sponsors and 2 different bank statements that they bring to the table, you also need to hand in 2 different sponsor forms. You will find a link to the sponsor form in OSIR's online application. It's a little form that your sponsor needs to fill out with their details, like where they live and their passport number, and they need to submit a copy of their passport so that we can check that they actually are okay with their funds being used for your studies.
Perfect. Let me see if we have any final questions coming in. All right, I think I think we've answered almost everything.
Maybe it's good to quickly state the main differences in the visa process between exchange students and degree students, because I feel like we got some questions about this.
Yeah.
So this session was geared more towards degree students, but because this process is so similar, we have invited exchange students as well. The two things that are different for exchange students versus degree students is that, one, exchange students don't have to pay tuition fees to us because you are most likely already paying tuition fees to your home university. You're studying with us as a partner to your home university, so to speak. So you're already paying tuition fees. You don't need to pay us extra. So that's one difference. The second difference is that you don't have to show that you have sufficient funds to cover your living expenses for 12 months, but just for the duration of your exchange.
Yeah.
Those are the two differences. Yeah.
I think that makes a lot of sense. And then indeed for the rest, the process is pretty similar.
Yeah, identical.
Great. Thank you so much, Iris.
Thank you.
Then we will quickly wrap up with the session. Thank you, of course, to Iris and our other chat moderators for helping us with the session and for helping answer all of your questions. Thank you to all of you for joining this session, and stay tuned for our upcoming sessions as well. See you at our next session. Bye.